Now, the start of a short-term ceasefire between Israel and Hamas militants has been delayed until Friday. This according to a top Israeli official. Moreover, according to sources, Israel's Mossad director David Barnea has arrived in Doha to meet with Qatari Prime Minister and other officials to discuss the final details of this deal. While the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says that he has directed his intelligence agency Mossad to act against the heads of Hamas militants. The first truce in a near 7-week-long war it reached after mediation by Qatar and was hailed around the world as a sign of progress that could ease the suffering of civilians in Gaza and bring more Israeli captives back home. But according to Israel's National Security Council director, the contacts of on the release of the hostages are advancing and continuing constantly. He further added that the start of the release will take place according to the original agreement between the two sides, which will quote-unquote not be before Friday. Israel's National Security Council director's statement comes hours after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference late on Wednesday. However, he did not make a mention of a potential delay in the implementation of the agreement during the press conference. According to reports, the release of hostages along with the 4-day ceasefire, it was originally set to begin on Thursday morning. The breakthrough deal was agreed on between Israel and Hamas to let aid into Gaza and facilitate the release of at least 50 hostages held by Hamas militants in exchange for at least 150 Palestinians jailed in Israel. But according to the spokesperson of Israel's National Security Council, they stressed that the delay does not indicate the deal is in peril. Although various Gazans do not feel the same way about the deal, they have expressed mistrust of the planned truce between Israel and Hamas militants.
This is a fake truce. They announce it, then they lie to people. They make them move, then they strike. This is not a life. We're not used to this. Our children run around appalled. This is so unfair.
It's a fake and failed truce. They were talking about a truce yesterday. Children went on the streets to play and they were happy. Then on that same night, there was a strike. Is this a truce? It's either a complete ceasefire or nothing at all. We're dead anyways.
And now, with the delay in the agreement between Israel and Hamas militants, Israel's chief military spokesperson has said that the war in Gaza will continue until the ceasefire brokered between the two sides starts.
Today we had a discourse with Israel's Chief of General Staff and the brigade commanders. We don't know when a ceasefire will start. We will be prepared to do everything that's required at the moment. We are focusing on the war. What we did today is to expose Hamas tunnels and destroy them. That's also what we are going to do in the coming hours, and we'll continue to do until we arrive at the stage where we have to stop.
For more on this, we're now being joined by Irina Sukman. She is a human rights activist and a national security lawyer based in the United States and a geopolitical analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast, Ms. Sukman.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Ms. Sukman, of course, we have to talk about the delay in this hostage deal. There were some signs of reprieve for the people that have been held hostage and also some sign of hope in this war. However, this delay that seems to have shaken the confidence of the people on ground in Gaza as well as the families of the hostages that are waiting for their relatives. What's your take on the situation and what would you say are the final details that both sides are still waiting for?
Well, it appears to be in part a power play moved by Hamas because according to information available now, Qatar has informed Israel that Hamas did not sign off on the deal as of 2300, 11 p.m. local time, and that the deal would not be implemented until 7 a.m. Friday. This would allow Hamas to come out looking as if they are the ones setting the conditions for the deal and they are the ones in charge and in power, despite the fact that they really actually need the ceasefire a great deal as a reprieve after 7 weeks of non-stop shelling and ground attacks as well. There is another element to this, which is the fact that Israel, according to sources, has not yet received the full list of the names of the hostages that are to be released. This may indicate that all of these hostages are being held separately, and that there is a lack of coordination between different Hamas groups in charge of them. They're being used as separate cells, which means that they don't have access to the names of all the hostages, and they do not know who is actually still alive. So they may need additional time to coordinate that information, and that is an additional reason for the delay.
All right, that being said, when it comes to progress in the talks going forward, as well as the hostage for prisoner swap, how do you see this deal going through? Do you think this will lead to any sort of simmering down of tensions in this war?
Absolutely not. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has been very clear that this truce is only for the sake of releasing the hostages and nothing else, that the military objectives of Israel have not been met yet, and that the war will continue as soon as this truce is over and after the hostage release is completed. And there's no reason to believe otherwise. The Israeli forces show no signs of any sort of withdrawal, and they are actually continuing to be on the offensive up to the moment of the negotiated ceasefire.
Ms. Sukuman, you're right. Israeli Prime Minister did say that this is not an end to the war and that Israel will continue its operations on ground. That being said, what is your take on the situation on ground in Gaza? What would you say are the wider objectives here?
Israel continues to target the military commanders of Hamas and has been successful in eliminating a number of them in recent days. But there is also the quest to eliminate all of the top leadership involved in the planning of this operation and other operations of its kind, including Yahya Sinwar, who remains missing, as well as Mohammed Aide, who likewise has not been seen since the start of the operation. Additionally, there is the goal of destroying the infrastructure, such as the tunnels, which allow for continuing attacks on Israel territory even to this date.
All right, Ms. Sukuman, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with your insights on this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.